Welcome to the inaugural Daily Universe or DU Sports Podcast, a new weekly podcast covering all things BYU sports for fans and students from a student/fans perspective. I'm Caleb Turner, the sports editor at the Universe, joined by my predecessor and current Universe photographer, Josh Ellis. I'll give you a chance, Josh, to kind of introduce yourself.
Yeah, like Caleb said, I'm Josh Ellis. I used to be the sports editor here at the Daily Universe. I've been a BYU sports fan my entire life. Just love to talk all things Cougars and glad to be here.
Right on. I'm Caleb, like I said, from Texas, San Antonio. This is my third year at BYU, and I love being a Cougar fan. Big week for BYU sports as we start a new year and semester, so let's get rolling.
So after falling to Pacific last Saturday, despite Elijah Bryant's 29 points, BYU basketball returns to Provo to take on Pepperdine Thursday at 7. Come on out and ring in the new year with the Rock. And women's hoops will be in action as well, taking on Pepperdine in Malibu. Malia Nauine had a huge weekend as her career highs of 23 and 25 points led BYU to victories over in-conference foes San Francisco and Pacific. With that great week, she was named the West Coast Conference Player of the Week, the first BYU player this season to receive the honor.
Men's volleyball split their opening weekend games, beating Lewis and losing to Loyola Chicago, and hits the road this weekend for games against number 14 Ball State and number 1 Ohio State, who defeated BYU in the championship game last year. Gabi Garcia Fernandez, who will be featured later in our show, totaled 35 kills and 8 blocks over the weekend en route to being named the off-the-block Freshman of the Week.
Gymnastics hit the floor in Salt Lake City last weekend, losing in a close meet to number 5 Utah, and returns to the Smithfield House to take on UC Berkeley Friday night. The BYU Indoor Track Invitational is this weekend as well, with both men and women's track teams competing in that.
All right, so Josh got the chance to go check out this season's men's volleyball team at their game against Loyola Chicago. So, Josh, what's kind of your take on this team so far?
The first thing that stuck out to me from that loss to number 13 Loyola Chicago was the serving. It was atrocious from both teams, to be honest. Both teams finished with 21 service errors, that's just not acceptable if you're going to be a top 10 program. That game had the Ramblers avoided as many serving errors as the Cougars. That might even be a sweep for Loyola Chicago. I mean, they definitely let BYU hang in there. And give the Cougars credit. They made plays when they had their backs to the wall, especially in the fourth set. They found themselves down big halfway through the set, made a good rally, came back, forced that fifth set, and were neck and neck with that, with the Ramblers in that final set. But just that serving error percentage was terrible. Beyond that, there's power there. The team showed some effort. And I really think that this weekend will be a huge test for this team, mainly because the last 2 years they've made it to the national championship game just to be swept by Ohio State. So making an early season trip out there just to see where this team stacks up against a team that's expected by many to just repeat and get that third title out there for the Buckeyes. So if they can perform well, and Ball State's ranked too, like it's not an easy game and a hard game. Those are both going to be challenging games for the Cougars, who fell a couple spots in this week's poll after losing to Loyola Chicago, but rebounding with a loss against a high-ranked Lewis team as well. So if they can, minimum you have to split this for sure. You can't go 0-2 on this trip and expect, especially with the volleyball tournament and the limited number, the extremely limited number of at-large bids, that you have multiple conference or federation losses. That's going to be hard to overcome. And granted, comes to volleyball, the Cougars perform extremely well when it comes to the MPSF tournaments. Often it's here in Provo with the record that the Cougars put up. And so I'd expect them to continue to stay strong, and I'm really looking forward to that trip out in Columbus this Saturday.
Right on. The game against number 14 Ball State will be streamed online on Watch ESPN, so you can check that out. And the Cougars will be back in Provo January 19th to take on Barton, and that will also be broadcast on BYU TV at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Up next, we have our interview with opposite hitter Gabi Garcia Fernandez on the men's volleyball team. Look for him in their games this weekend, and here's the interview with him. Here we are with Gabi Garcia Fernandez, freshman opposite hitter from San Juan, Puerto Rico, won the off-the-block Freshman of the Week. This week, in your first week playing for BYU, how did it feel being recognized so early on in your time playing as a Cougar?
It was great. The crowd was crazy. The energy, the positive energy feedback fans are giving us is awesome. Coaches are happy. The team are happy. That's the most important part. They're all happy about it, and it's nice to be here. Really, I already feel at home. I only have like 2 games.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's awesome.
That's good to hear that you feel at home already. So tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of your background and stuff, so Cougar fans can get to know you a little better.
So yeah, I'm Puerto Rican. I live in San Juan. I've been playing volleyball since I was like 13.
Okay.
Before that, I played baseball.
Oh, nice.
It was kind of my passion. I've been playing high-level volleyball since I was 15. The first chance I got with the national team back home.
Oh, wow.
Then I've traveled around the world to get experience.
That's awesome.
And yeah.
And what position did you play in baseball?
So I was first base.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, first base and left side.
Good stuff. All right, and you mentioned that you feel pretty at home here at BYU. How's the experience been so far at BYU for you?
It's great. It's great. I'm used to like blocking the noise outside.
Okay.
But there are times that you go up to serve and you hit the rock section. Let's go, Gabi.
Yeah.
When you literally only have.
I just got here.
I just got
How do you
here.
guys know I am?
And everybody knows my name.
Yeah.
It's like everybody do the research and everything. This feels so great. Everybody goes, let's go, Gabi. And the positive feedback that my teammates gave me, my coaches gave me so much feedback. They have much confidence on me that I can do the job. So like that's great.
And what kind of preparation went into like the preseason and stuff like that to have such a great start to the season?
Yeah, so the preparation was very important. There were times we have to stay like extra time in the court doing some reps. We got to get early to the court to the extra reps. So the coaches were like, hey, let's get extra reps, you know. We know you can do this. We want you to get better every day. So that's what we were doing since we started practicing in November. We're just getting better every day.
That's awesome. Okay. And this is kind of a fun question. What kind of music is on your pregame, like pump-up playlist before you get on the floor?
So just regular music. I don't know why. So like I hear
a favorite artist. I don't know, a song you listen to a lot right now.
A song I listen to before every game is like One About Future, Saying Last Breath. It's on the movie Creed.
Okay.
So yeah,
it's a good movie. I love that movie.
Yeah, me too.
That's really cool.
So yeah, this.
All right. So some future to pump you up before the game.
Yeah.
All right. And what are you most looking forward to this season?
I'm looking forward to see all the guys in like head up in like. I'm looking forward. Like many people are like, oh, we're looking for a national championship.
Yeah.
We're looking to the MPSF championship. We're just looking for us to be great at what we do in practice and on the court, you know. Like if we do that, the results are gonna be the same. If we do great in the practice and on the court, like playing, we can be MPSF champions or NCAA champions.
Right.
So that's the thing that the boys are doing so well. We're doing so well. Like we're not doing extras. Every time we're just doing what we know to do in the practice. We practice and then do it in the court.
And it pays off.
It pays off, yeah.
There you go. Well, that's awesome to hear. Good to hear. Good luck on your guys' road trip this weekend.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll have you on sometime soon during the season.
Thank you.
Now let's talk about basketball, as we've seemed to have entered a fairly pivotal moment in the season where they can prove they're a different team, as we have all hoped, or they can fall into the typical NIT-bound team we've seen these past 2 years. So, Josh, as it stands right now, do you see this BYU basketball team making the NCAA tournament?
The fan wants to say yes. I desperately want to see that happening. The team said that's their goal. That's what Cougar Nation wants to see happen. But that loss to Pacific was brutal. Now, a lot of people are arguing, it's not a sub-200 loss with either KenPom or RPI ratings, but Pacific was 167th at the time, and it's just, to me, it's even the eye test. It really hurts that. where you look at the wins, it's like, okay, the win over Utah is starting to look better with them performing fairly well in the Pac-12 so far. But beyond that, there's nothing that stands out. The chance to take down UTSA, which wouldn't have been as much of a win as we thought at the start of the year, but still, you lost that opportunity. You lost the chance to take down Alabama in the Barclays Center Classic. Just there's nothing that makes this team pop to the committee, in my opinion. And now, despite 3 games against St. Mary's and Gonzaga combined here to finish out the season, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, so I'd have to agree. Obviously, as a fan, we all want it to happen. There are 2 things that do give me hope that they can pull it off. Number one, this team has proved that they can bounce back from losses pretty well. Those losses, I guess I should say, they took to UT Arlington and Alabama early in the year. They were able to kind of turn around and go on a 9-game win streak after that. So that gives me a little bit of hope that they can bounce back from this pretty bad Pacific loss. And then also, looking back at previous BYU teams to make the NCAA tournament, they were around the same position BYU's in right now. Not much better records, obviously, excluding the Jimmer years and things like that. But BYU has had worse starts than this and still made it to the NCAA tournament. So that precedent, I guess, does give me a little bit of hope. And, we've noticed that this BYU team is a little more defensive oriented. They have, the concepts, like they always say, that give me hope that they can kind of keep this run going. On to our next question. What will happen in this next month, these next few games, that will tell you, yeah, this team is better, or nope, we are headed back to the NIT? What's kind of like the evidence that will prove it either way?
I feel that if they can keep up that defensive streak, with Coach Schroyer back and instigating his kills mentality, where those 3 stops make a kill, 7 kills, usually win a game. You've definitely seen that energy, and when Coach Schroyer brings it on the court, you can see him on the sideline, and there's just a new energy, especially when things are tight, that sometimes would disappear from the team. And like we saw against Pacific, they just came out flat, just that edge that, the fans were all talking during the game that, this loss would really hurt us. We need to win this game. You really cannot expect an at-large bid from the WCC, especially the way that Gonzaga and St. Mary's have played, where they're not, that top 10 caliber team where they've been the last couple seasons. That those non-St. Mary Gonzaga losses really hurt, and the team just came out flat in that Pacific game. So not thinking about that. So as long as, to me, if they can come out in all those other WCC games with the urgency of that we cannot lose these, and honestly, we need to blow some of those teams out of the water. And there's tricky ones, right? The trip to San Diego is always a tricky one for BYU for whatever reason. You still got to go out to Moraga, and then you've got both games still with Gonzaga coming up. So if they can keep that defensive pressure up, keep that energy up, and show that they want to get to the tournament, I feel that it could happen.
Yeah, I had a friend mention to me the other day that it seems like even when BYU matches up against these teams that they should easily beat, the other team seems to always have a chance in the game. It's not very often that you see a BYU team, whether it be football or basketball, just pound a team and blow them out, kind of like Josh says we need to do. I really do think this team is capable of doing that, with the scores in Eli and Yoli that we have. They're not bad teams, but, not so good teams in this conference that we should be able to beat by 30 or 40 point margins. And I think that'll be a real big confidence boost if we can get those kinds of wins. And like Josh said, prove that they are a better defensive team, stay more consistent on that end. This team was really, really good at shooting free throws early in the season. And then these past few games, as we started seeing more losses, that consistency hasn't been there as much. But if they can keep the free throw percentage up, getting to the line, driving as often as they were, in games against Idaho State, against Portland as well, that'll be huge. So also something that we've been talking about a lot is TJ Haas, right? I think he has really yet to break out this season. BYU's second leading scorer last year as a freshman. And if he can really become that third scorer to provide, quality minutes, quality scoring for BYU over these next few weeks, and hopefully bump up his shooting percentages as well. He's not been where he was last year. That'll be huge. Because as good as Eli and Yoli have been, there needs to be that third guy, when teams are not allowing Yoli to do his thing in the paint, double teaming him down there. and not letting Eli get into the paint, or when his shot's not falling either. We need TJ to be able to help us out in that area. I don't know if you had anything else to add, Josh.
Yeah, just pulling up some stats here. Haas and Celius are both shooting between 32-33% from downtown, which is much lower than their previous year. So we're definitely missing that threat.
Zach Celius, 50% three-point shooter his freshman year. And what'd you say, between 30 and 32 this year?
Yeah. So
wow.
he is definitely down, and like I go back to the shots to end the St. Mary's game here, where you had Bryant drive, kick it out to Celius. He just didn't. You think back to last year, and you're like, he drains that shot. You just feel that everything he puts up goes in, and that's not the case this season, which has been tough to see. Now he's coming back off of an injury, right, that he suffered, getting his shoulder better. But just one more thing to help that loss against Pacific. BYU only dropped, BYU was only 2 spots lower before the loss, or after the loss, than they were before, and so they're still in that bubble range with Ken Palm, but obviously any other 150 or lower losses, especially if there's any sub 200 losses, that's gonna really end any at-large chance. And we know that BYU doesn't fare so well when it comes to conference tournament play. The last time we won a dance in Vegas was 2005, Mountain West. So it's been a few years.
So you're saying we can't bank on them winning the WCC tournament in Vegas?
Now, the ESPN stats gives them an 8% chance of winning it,
wow.
which compared to a 1% at-large bid, which is better. But it's just we get down there in the Orleans Arena and something happens to the team, and there's just something there when it comes to tournament mentality. And we've seen that this team can make runs, right? Coach Rose has taken some teams deep in the NIT. Like, that tournament mentality can be there. It just struggles to show up when it comes to the Orleans Arena.
Also, one more guy who was crucial to this kind of culture we've been creating over the first couple months of the season, Dalton Nixon. Hopefully, in my wish list of the next couple of months for BYU basketball, I want him back on the court. That guy kind of represented everything this team is all about. Ball movement, hustle plays, defense.
That sixth man.
Exactly, that sixth man. Although McKay Cannon has been great in his absence, but Dalton, if we can get him back, and then we need our 3J Haas. We need our white mamba back on the court to blow some of these teams out and get us back on the map. All right, well, that's it for the DU Sports Podcast this week. Thanks for joining, Josh, and thanks for joining all of you. Stay tuned for next week's as we break down Oprah's chances of becoming president in 2020.